untold story of Aliko Dangote irresistibly leaves one in awe when the thought of how an ordinary sweet seller on campus turned out to be the wealthiest black man on earth. Dangote in an interview said these words: "I can remember when I was in primary school, I would go and buy cartons of sweets and I would start selling them just to make money." Well, if you own a candy store, I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but Dangote did not appear 12 consecutive times on Forbes magazine as the richest man in Africa by merely selling sweets. But don't give up yet. Dangote actually accumulated his wealth by doing what you are doing now, business. Well, maybe he didn't do exactly what you are doing now. Let's face it, it's not every day your regular businessman takes the driver's seat as the continent's wealthiest man for more than a decade. What really made Dangote this wealthy? Was it his business skills? Was it inheritance? Was it politics? Or maybe even corruption? Join me as we dig deep into finding out how the wealthiest black man on earth, Aliko Dangote, made his fortune. In 1957, Aliko Dangote was born into and surrounded by a long and unbroken line of successful business tycoons. His maternal great-grandfather, Alhassan Dantata, was at the time of his death in 1955 the richest man in West Africa.
Well, I came from a wealthy family. My grandfather was my great-grandfather from my mother's side was actually very wealthy, Alhassan Dantata. And then his son, also Sanusi Dantata, whom really raised me up because, I lost my dad at the age of 8.
One of his sons, Sanusi Dantata, was a director of the Nigerian branch of Shell Petroleum and founder of Sanusi Dantata and Sons Limited. His daughter, Maria Sanusi Dantata, got married to Mohammed Dangote, a successful businessman and associate of Sanusi Dantata, both of which gave birth to now the richest man in Africa. As you can see, blood is thicker than water.
My father too, was fairly rich, but he was both, in business and also in politics. Yeah, he died when I was 8 years old.
Apparently, Dangote would probably be an average Nigerian trader buying and selling everyday consumables such as flour, rice, pasta, and sugar, which countless of Nigeria already engaged, if not for the rare access to a very fundamental factor of luxury: capital. You see, there's a popular saying in Nigeria: better soup and money kill 'em, which actually translates to lack of money kills ideas. It's confusing, I know, just don't overthink it. As a third world country characterized by pervading poverty, high interest rates, and strangulating loan condition, only a handful of Nigerians could obtain a whopping 500,000 naira interest-free and non-collateral loan, which Aliko Dangote received in 1977 from his uncle Sanusi Dantata, who was considered by many to be one of the richest men in Nigeria as at that time.
He gave me a loan of which I was grateful, and I paid back in 3 months, because business was so good.
Probably you didn't get it. To appreciate how much money was at Dangote's disposal, I think we should put 1977 in proper context. First of all, this was 7 years after the Nigerian Civil War, when the collective wealth of Nigeria and Nigerians was at its lowest level, and many were still counting loss from the 3-year-long hostilities. Secondly, the highest naira currency at the time was 20 naira notes. Now, imagine 500,000 naira in packs of 20 naira notes. Lastly, 1 naira was about $1.50 in 1977. At that time, the naira was valued more than the dollar. So let's do a little mathematics. 500,000 naira would be $750,000, which with today's exchange rate will be equivalent to 525 million naira, if of course you leave out every other factor. Now, think hard. Imagine you are giving 500 million naira today to start a business.
Why? Why, Dada? Why?
This is business.
This is my sweat.
I know, but I did business.
Would you become the richest man in Africa in, like, say, 50 years time? Maybe, maybe not. Now, let's leave out imagination and get back to reality. It was under these circumstances that Aliko Dangote was given a loan of 500,000 naira, which he used in investing in general trading business, importing bulk goods like rice, flour, sugar, and bagged cement. And he would go on with this import business for over 2 decades until a divine inspiration, which would change the course and fortune of his life forever, occurred.
We now have this farm which we have developed. We are doing almost about 120,000 hectares of rice land, and then we are doing 260,000 hectares of sugar.
It occurred to Dangote, why should I continue importing rice, sugar, flour, and allied items from other countries and sell to Nigerians when these items could as well be produced in Nigeria? Armed with the conviction that Nigeria and indeed Africa would be self-sufficient in at least the most fundamental need of man, food, but not oblivious to the fact that there are obstacles hindering such self-sufficiency on the African continent, including high interest rates, corruption, uncertainty of government policies, etc., Dangote resolved to transition into manufacturing. First, he began the production of salt and then flour and sugar, all of which became successful until another divine inspiration occurred, a man full of wisdom indeed. Nigeria plays host to one of the world's largest lime deposits, but more than 2/3 of its total cement consumption was imported from other countries such as China, India, and Brazil. Lafarge, as at that time, was the only major cement producer in Nigeria from the late 90s to the early 2000s, but it could not satisfy up to 1/3 of the demand of cement in Nigeria. As a matter of fact, annual cement production between 1999 and 2002 was around 1.7 metric tons. This was the state of the cement market Dangote saw.
Local builders are having a hard time getting concrete.
Took a bold step into the production of cement, which proved to be the silver bullet for Nigerians' deficient supply of cement, and it actually grew his wealth astronomically. Today, Dangote Cement is the largest cement manufacturer in Africa. The giant has a production capacity of 51.6 million tons per year across 10 million countries in sub-Saharan Africa.
It's by far the largest. It's maybe one of the largest production sites in Nigeria and in Africa.
It could therefore be fairly argued that Dangote made his wealth by being sensitive to the market gaps in sectors of the Nigerian economy. This was actually ironic, given the fact that a country as Nigeria, with vast majority of needed raw materials and natural resources, could not actually fill that gap.
We take the limestone from our nearby mines, which is 9 kilometers away.
Inspired by the commendable success achieved from the cement production, Dangote is currently committing to building a refinery in his home country, which for years has been importing crude oil despite playing host to crude oil deposits, which was discovered in commercial quantities as far back as 1956.
Countries with abundant natural resources tend to have challenges with economic growth and worse development outcomes when you compare them with countries with fewer natural resources. The curse is not in the oil itself, I think it's in how it has been managed.
I feel terrible to see a country as big as Nigeria, as resourceful as Nigeria, and with this sort of population that we have, 200 million plus, and we're importing all our petroleum products. I mean, it is very, very, very painful.
Dangote Refinery, being constructed in Lagos State on a land area approximately 6 times the size of Victoria Island, would, when completed as its proposed completion date by 2026, produce a projected 650,000 oil barrels per day, 3 billion standard cubic feet of gas, 65 million liters of premium motor spirits, 15 million liters of diesel, and 4 million metric tons of jet fuel each day. That's a lot of numbers.
Setting up a 650,000 barrels per day refinery is usually a project that is set up by sovereign countries, not by individual, no matter how big you are, no matter how big the company is.
Everybody now is just thinking about oil, oil, oil.
If you only credited Dangote's wealth to his ability to close market gaps in Nigeria and by extension Africa, I think we will be far from accurate. No account of Dangote's journey to being a financial and economic giant will be completed without pointing out that Dangote's success in business is largely thanks to him being political. Credible sources revealed that the success achieved in his cement business was largely due to the restriction of the import of cement by Olusegun Obasanjo. As a matter of fact, it could be strongly argued that the 2003 presidential election represents a turning point in the life, fortune, and future of Aliko Dangote. In 1999, a relatively unknown but wealthy Dangote donated appreciable sums of money to the People's Democratic Party, like many other Naira billionaires, at a party held at Abuja for the Olusegun Obasanjo election campaign. But the major sponsor in the 1999 PDP campaign was the vice presidential candidate of the PDP at the time, Atiku Abubakar. However, the government of Obasanjo, which relied largely on repeated funding from Atiku for the re-election bid, was left at a crossroad as the vice president now had the ambition of succeeding his principal in 2003 and was reluctant to release funds for the campaign. This was the golden opportunity Dangote sought to become Nigeria's federal government's favorite son. Your guess is as good as mine that Dangote invested heavily, both officially and unofficially, to the re-election of former President Olusegun Obasanjo. In his book titled The Accidental Public Servant, a former minister under Olusegun Obasanjo and current governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, Obasanjo had to resort to raising money from other sources, and that was how Aliko Dangote came into prominence in the government from 1999 to 2003. Nobody had heard of Dangote having anything to do with federal government in any significant way. By this singular gesture and risk taken by Dangote, the federal government was able to use friendly policies to make him the cement lord in Nigeria, and this was how he cemented his name in Nigerian economy to become Nigeria's first dollar billionaire by 2007. Furthermore, his ability to maintain a very good relationship with the federal government of Nigeria, even after its leadership change from the ruling People's Democratic Party to the ruling All Progressive Congress, speaks volume of how politically savvy and diplomatic Dangote is. Beyond all this, it would appear that the most defining factor behind the wealth of Dangote is his ability to diversify across different sectors of the economy. A multinational conglomerate company with presence in over 16 African countries had substantial shares in just about every sector of the Nigerian economy. Aliko Dangote purchased a majority stake in the National Salt Company of Nigeria in 2007. In the second quarter of 2022, this subsidiary of Dangote Group alone reported a mid-year revenue of 25 billion naira in sales alone. Other food-related items in which Dangote Group claims a significant share of the Nigerian market includes food seasoning, vegetable oil, tomato paste, etc. The group also deals in production and distribution of petrochemical, fertilizer, packaging material, and its cash cow cement, where revenue for 2022 alone was 1.6 trillion naira. The conglomerate also buys and sells properties, manages ports, and operates on over 5,000 fleets of trucks. The determination to diversify the source of his wealth knows no bound. As far back as 2010, Dangote left no one in doubt of his interest in owning the North London football club Arsenal. His initial attempt to purchase a majority stake of the club was, however, abortive. In 2015, he was quoted saying, "I still hope that one day at the right price, I'll buy the team. I might buy it not at a ridiculous price, but at a price the owner won't want to resist. I know my strategy."
It's a thing that, yes, I would like to buy, someday. But like what I keep saying today, we have $20 billion worth of projects. And I think that's really what I want to concentrate on. I'm trying to finish building the company, and then after we finish, maybe sometime in 2021, we can.
So you're not buying a team right now?
Well, we might not know his strategy, but one thing is certain: Dangote might not actually buy Arsenal after all. But his resolve to own a football club of international repute remains unchanged, as the billionaire is reportedly close to sealing a deal to purchase a French team, Valenciennes FC. In truth, multiple factors conspired in favor of Aliko Dangote amassing so much wealth. Factors such as being born into a family of accumulated generational wealth, acquired through several business ventures, and being trained in one of the best Islamic universities in the world as a business administrator, both enabled him experience formal business education and appreciate the theoretical and practical aspects of business management.
No, he went in Egypt.
Egypt, all right. And what did you study?
Business.
Another factor in which in no small measure enabled the multiplication of Dangote's wealth was also the fact that he was a Nigerian. Being the most populous country in Africa and richly endowed with several natural resources and arable land created a very unique and enviable market for Dangote, which his counterparts in other African countries cannot boast of.
Meanwhile, Bua Group in its rejoinder is saying that Dangote and flour mills are just trying to maintain a monopoly on sugar in Nigeria, and that the establishment of the refinery will end up driving down sugar prices, which is something Dangote and flour mills do not want.
Competitors have on several occasions accused Dangote of using illegal means to gain unfair trade and market advantage. In 2017, for example, the CEO of BUA Group, Abdulsalam Rabiu, accused Dangote Group of acts of sabotage against BUA cement operation in connivance with top government officials of the Ministry of Mines and Steel Development. Rabiu claimed that Dangote used thugs and agents of the state, including police officers, to ensure that operation of BUA cement in Edo State were disrupted, despite pending lawsuits filed with respect to the subject matter. While these and many more damning claims against Dangote remain unsubstantiated and can be described with the ups and downs which inescapably comes with his status and personality in the society. But given the numerous business ventures of Dangote, it is indeed very likely that the title of the richest man in Africa is one he would hold for a while, as every finish line for the business lord and captain of various industries signals the beginning of an entirely new race towards acquisition of more wealth, which he guards very jealously. Relatively recently, Dangote told the Bloomberg TV's David Rubenstein show that he intends to open an office in New York to help diversify investment and avoid the risk of currency fluctuation in Nigeria.
Start investing, in the United States just after this project. We want to open a family office, both in New York and in London. We already have an office in London which has been operating for the last 30 years. Okay. So we want to turn part of that, as a family office, so that we can diversify the wealth. As you know, I've discussed this with you before, where sometimes in Africa you have issues of devaluation, so we want to really preserve some of the family's wealth.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, like him or hate him, you can never deny the fact that Dangote is indeed a genius, and his status today in the society is well deserved. Thank you for watching this video to the end, and if you enjoyed it, kindly like, subscribe and share to your friends, and also subscribe so you'll be the first to see my subsequent videos. Thank you once again. I'll see you in the next video.